My dear brothers and sisters, today St. Mark has taken us to have a glimpse to see what's happening in the Jewish temple. The Jewish temple, in a way, had three sections. One was called the inner part, where only the high priest will enter and offer sacrifice. And there was the second part where the women could enter, and there was a third part. In all this second and third part, there was the treasure chests, so to say, which were a small mouth and a round, big base, and looked like trumpets. And all Jews had to put in the offerings. Some were compulsory, and others were out of generosity they put for various purposes. Some were meant for the upkeep of the temple. Some were meant to take by provisions for the sacrifices. Others were meant for the upkeep of the priests and so on. But there were others where people would put in generously. And so we are now in a scene. It's like this church, the shrine here, we have three parts. We've got the first part, and the second part, and the third part. And Jesus sits opposite the treasury and watches what's happening there. And he sees two classes of people. One, the rich, the affluent, and the other, the poor, symbolized in that widow. And Jesus, in a way, praises, so to say, the offering of the widow. He doesn't condemn or so-called has a negative word for those others who put in plenty. But what strikes us is the attitude of these two classes of people. When at that time there were no paper notes, there were only the coins. When you put large coin, there will be like you're blowing your own trumpet. It will make a lot of noise. So like I'm blowing my trumpet by putting large coins. So I'm telling the whole world, those are there, see how generous I am. And see, other side, this woman, a widow, at that time symbolized all those who are neglected, who are abused, who are like downtrodden people, who the rich people in a way made use of them for their own benefits. This poor person just puts 2 coins, a penny, and they don't make noise. But Jesus notices these two things. He says, this widow, out of her own generosity, has put in all that she had. She just had few coins for her living, which she will use for her so-called sustenance. Well, Jesus says put in abundance, not what they pinched them, but what they had so to say extra. Why does in a way Jesus praises the act of this poor widow and doesn't have a very good word for this? Because of the attitudes. These here on the one side praise themselves in a way. See how much I'm giving for God. They had no so-called, nothing beyond that. But this poor widow, he says, has put in all that he has. So much trust and faith that she has in God that she surrenders herself totally for her entire future in the hands of God. Let's pause and ask ourselves, when we do so-called works of charity, do we allow the left hand to know what the right hand is doing? Or do we say, I give, without being noticed? There's something comes to mind now. In the churches, the priest announces so much money given by so-and-so and so-and-so. There are others who say, by well-wishers. We don't like our name to be announced. So let's ask God, do we do works of charity, love for others, and because we want to be known, made famous? Or do we have the inner motive inside? We do because God has given us. And all that we have is God. And we give back to God through this our generous, small offerings.